And we are live for, I think, only the second of the Backlist Book Club videos that we've done, despite being on the 6th month. Because we like to package them together, it works out. But yeah, this is our second video to talk about Backlist Book Club and everything that we have read so far, which this has just been such a fun thing. So Fiona, I'll let you introduce yourself, of course, here too as well. But hopefully, if you've been following along with any of the Backlist Book Club stuff, you're aware of both of us. But I've just really enjoyed. We've had some ups and downs. Not all of them have been winners for all of us, and we've had some that we've clashed on, or that the Discord was very wide-ranging opinions on, including some we'll talk about here. But it's been a really fun time. So with that, yeah, I'll pop it over to you if you want to do a little introduction, just in case somebody lives under a rock and doesn't know you. So.
I mean, it is on your Discord, right? You're on Ender's Discord, so I'm just a guest on there as well. So totally fine, totally possible. Hey everyone, I'm Fina from the channel Fina Reads. I'm Nico's partner in crime for the Backlist Book Club that I'm also super excited about. Like, this has been such a great experience, and I cannot wait to talk about the 4 books today. Well, we'll see if we talk about all 4 fully, but
3 and like a, yeah.
Yes. Yay. All right, so we talked about 3 last time, right? The first time we met, we talked about 3 books. Which one was it? It was Black Sun Rising, the Tanith Lee book.
Tanith Lee, yeah.
And
oh gosh,
what was the other one?
Now I'm blanking.
Shoot.
How are we forgetting? We're
And I think it was a decent one, right? Wasn't it a decent one? Oh my goodness, it's clearly.
I'm looking for the thumbnail. Oh, we had here it is.
Shards of Honor. It was a very good one. What's her name? Lois McMaster Bujold's sci-fi.
I've read so many more of those at this point. I feel like I just kind of forget that it was.
I need to catch up. Oh my goodness, I need to catch up with you again.
I'm the next one I'm on is, I think, Ethan of Athos, which is like one of the kind of the side ones.
You're way far ahead. Jeez.
Which was the last one you did?
Well, I did the 2 with Cornelia, and then Cordelia or Cornelia. I always mix it up. I got flagged for that on one of my videos.
I mean, it's close, Cordelia, but yeah, it works out.
Names, listen. And then the first one with Miles. So I'm at that first novella or short story, or I don't know, whichever. And I think Kate is there too. Kate joined us also in that continuation, Kate Coy. And I think she's also stuck with that. I don't know. All right. Yeah. I know what I'm going to do in July then.
Ooh, I like it. I was gonna say, yeah, I ended up just sneaking in more of them because I couldn't help it. So that has been that was definitely one of the big winners. Obviously, Black Sun Rising was a big winner for me too, since I ended up reading the whole thing. But we've had some good ones.
Yeah, my winner, we still, or so far at least, we still talk about. So
yes,
other than Shards of Honor, that is definitely number 1 for me too. But my number 2, we still have to talk about.
Yeah, well, I think that's our first one on the old list here, so we can definitely get started with it. And ooh, that's a pretty copy. I still need to. I'm probably not going to find it, but I wanted to find one of those omnibus versions that they do.
They must be thick though, because those are
it must be. I was going to say they're not short books, but I've seen a copy that apparently exists, and sometimes those aren't fun to physically read, but I like them for collecting. It's probably got really small print, but yes. So yeah, Sheep Farmer's Daughter.
Yes.
Which I joked I had put off reading Elizabeth Moon for so long because I kept in my head mistaking her with Elizabeth Bear, who's a totally different author.
Right. Yeah.
I had some other people say that too, but that one was such a different book because it was very like I'm struggling now to even go back and kind of describe it, but we're following the character and we're just kind of doing this day-to-day stuff, and it flowed really, really well, even though it was sort of just like quiet and just following this character. But then had some action later on, of course, as well too. But it was just such a unique experience. I feel like
Yeah.
just kind of reading through and seeing Pox and her kind of day-to-day life going through, and it's felt very, very like realistic for kind of the military fantasy type of feel too.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like while I was reading it, I don't know if I actually talked about it as much in the Discord, but I was actually kind of like, what is this book? I'm not going to like this. It's very plot driven, as you said, right? You just follow along. You don't get to know anyone. There's basically no character like details for Paxtonarian or any of the characters really. It's a little bit of history, but not, you know, floppy and easy to read. Okay, it's enormous. Yes, because they are all like this is 400 and I think the other two are also in the 400 range. And I mean this is already crazy floppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would like for I don't know 70 or 80% of the book I was like, okay, I mean I'm okay with what I'm reading. I'm not totally bored, but my goodness, this is different than what I usually read. And very matter of fact, very like the military stuff, like the little campaigns that they were doing, very detailed, but then the ending. And the fun thing is, so I've read book 2, Divided Allegiance, in May. Same thing. Like I
Oh,
was
wasn't it?
reading, it took me like 2.5 weeks to read it because it was so slow. I mean, I'm also was not in the biggest reading mood in May anyway, but it was again like 70-80% very slow. You just a lot of things happen. And then I mean that ending is phenomenal for book 2. Like that
Mm.
completely blew my mind, which is why this whole series already catapulted into my number 2 for the Backlist Book Club. But I find this incredibly fascinating on how, as someone who actually needs all this character depth and character detail, how much I'm loving packs where we are not getting as much character detail. Like this is incredible.
That's why that was such a hard one to try to like figure out, like, other than just telling people to try it, is be like, who does this work for?
Yeah.
Because yeah, I tend to be like I'm very world building focused, and I like to really explore the world. And this is more of just I would say it's plot driven, and we're following one character, but yeah, we're really just moving along, and I was very engaged. And like you get a couple of tiny little hints about the world, but it wasn't my normal kind of thing either.
No.
And yet I just found it really enjoyable and very easy to read.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's a lot of stuff toward the end. Definitely had me curious as well. And so this is up there. I do need to continue this. I probably would have already continued if not for wanting to finish Cold Fire. Because that one was a little bit up higher for me, but I'm planning to hopefully soon. I think I'm going to do like a month in the next couple of months where I'm just like, I'm going to just continue series, including some of these two.
Yeah, that is the one thing. I mean, we knew that would happen when we started this
Yeah.
whole thing. We knew we would have like whatever, 14, is it 14 total that we are doing? 14 series. No, there's one standalone. So 13 series that we then have to figure out how to read. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're doing Kate Elliott this month, so I know I'm going to want to continue that one too. I can't imagine I won't, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, but I find this very interesting because it has a lot of known tropes. It is a very typical like big epic fantasy. They travel quite a bit. Like in the first book, you know, as Pax is leaving her sheep farmer's dad, right, like the farm, and going to the military and then joining that, and then it's the first 3 years, I believe, right, 3 or 4 years of her military career with that company that she is with, and it's really just going from one, I don't know, skirmish to another, from one campaign to another, and it's just her telling us what happens, and it's so like I love it because it's so different. I don't think any of the other fantasy books that we've read, or, you know, at least for like definitely for the Backlist Book Club pick, but even other fantasy books that I've read, I've never had something quite like this.
Yeah.
Out there. And it's, yeah, I don't know. It's really fascinating. And even the military stuff, I don't care about military stuff too much, but she wrote it in such an interesting way, a little bit like a documentation video that you would watch on how does the
I
military actually
mean,
work. And it's
yeah.
super fascinating because she gets a little bit into the like economics and into just the day to day. How do you get so many people moving and forward and all that stuff? And then in book 2, just I'm trying to stay spoiler free, but um at the end of book 1, right? Like it continues in book 2 with Pax, and we get a lot about horsemanship and how to
Mm,
train horses and how, how horses are in a military sense. Super fascinating. And again,
I'm
like the
curious.
same kind of weird detail, but she puts it in a really interesting way. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that series ended. I need Pax to be good.
I was gonna say I saw some. I didn't read the spoiler ones, but I saw some of the comments in Discord too. So yeah, that's. It seems like, and I saw your wrap up as well. It seems like some big stuff goes down, but
Yeah.
I'm really curious, and I wonder for me if kind of like you said, it almost like a documentary, which I don't want to make it sound like boring because it definitely wasn't boring. It was very engaging, but I could see that because it felt like it was very real, and I
Yeah.
think that's where, despite the fact that I wasn't getting all of these cool fantasy elements, this was just like, hey, this is so you've joined a mercenary troop. Here's what to expect,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just going through all the positive, the negatives, the in betweens, all of the different challenges of just being a mercenary troop.
Yeah.
Being a woman in a mercenary troop in
Yeah.
general, and yeah, it just it continuously moves forward. It doesn't like dwell on like you don't get like the kind of like, oh, we're gonna stop here and we're just gonna be really slow for a while and then we're gonna kind of rush forward. Even like the actiony parts, it just felt like it was very consistently paced,
Right.
which
Yeah,
is
you're
so
absolutely right.
hard to do with something like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Super
that I feel like
fascinating.
helped. Yeah.
Yeah. I also, as you said, like as a woman in a mercenary group, that is something that I actually really appreciated because that was not a like a one-off thing, right? She was not the only woman in that mercenary
Hmm.
group. I loved how she had like that whole like it felt normal to a certain extent. There was a little bit of like, oh, you have to be careful. There are some situations happening sometimes, but in general, like all the dynamics between all the people that she was close with, and just in general, the like even during the battles, it was all very neutral. Like gender didn't even play a huge role throughout the book, really, and I kind of loved that. It was really interesting.
Yeah, it's I was impressed because I felt like the author managed to address it. It didn't feel like it was being ignored. Like, and
Yeah,
there are, certain things, including kind of earlier on, there's some stuff that happens and it's addressed, and I felt it was handled really well.
yeah,
But it's throughout, yeah, and partially it's just because, yeah, it's in this world. It's not maybe not as common, but it's certainly not unheard of for women to be mercenaries
yeah,
as well. And it's not even in this troop. It happens, and it's just yeah, you could easily take this and turn it into like uh, a book that's all that it's about, and it could still probably be really well done and be good.
yeah,
But it's just she manages to take that and just make it like work, and also just feel realistic and feel like she's still handling the topics well, but
yeah,
also just it never feels like we're gonna stop like taking a side and like we're gonna talk about this for a bit. It's like nope,
yeah,
here's just the reality of the situation. And it's weird to talk about how the realism and the reality when we're talking about a fantasy book.
yeah.
But that's the way it felt for sure.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, right? Like it's, hey Mark, um the book 1, we are talking about Sheep Farmer's Daughter. That was our February Backlist Book Club pick. Elizabeth Moon, Sheep Farmer's Daughter. Book 1 in the Deed of Paxenarian series. I also love the art. Like this is what you get, really.
That
In
is a
like
really I like the cover a lot. Yeah.
yeah. On the fantasy element, I actually was really, really fascinated by the fact that it was, I mean, you get a little bit like religion um throughout, but overall it was a very fantasy, less fantasy, no fantasy. There was
Yeah.
not much fantasy elements in there. Towards the end, we're getting a little bit, and then book 2 obviously goes deeper into what happened at the end of book 1. But yeah, I found that very fascinating that for a fantasy book, it's really more the military aspect.
Hmm.
And like in which order certain people have to stand and how you have to fight with the sword so you're not hurting someone. Like all these little details. You didn't need any fantasy elements. You didn't need magic for that or
Yeah.
dragons or whatever. It still worked. Maybe more historical fiction in that sense, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, because yeah, you do get some more fantasy elements, and like there was like a miscellaneous like mention that elves exist and like things like that too. But it's so funny because it was just like, oh yeah, something about the elves, and it's just like an aside because like of course the characters know that elves exist. It's nothing special, you know. Let's talk about sword technique. That's
Yes.
much more important. But you know, I have to imagine that the author either had like probably both had like a ton of research that she did as well as I think I looked it up, and she does have some like military experience because it just felt like
Yeah.
again like you would have had to have the experience, but still, I don't think she was in like a kind of quasi medieval mercenary troop too. So it feels like a lot of
Yeah.
research, but like you feel like I feel like I learned something, and like I like at the
Which
same
is a
time
weird to say when
it
you read a
wasn't like I was
fantasy book.
reading. Yeah. But it's just like, I don't know. It was so detailed in such a pleasing way. And I think that's partially, despite that you didn't get a ton of the fantasy elements in the first book, there was still like the world was being built as this very real, grounded place. And then I think that makes the fantasy elements pop
Yeah.
all the more.
Yeah.
And you don't get that a lot.
Yeah.
And I love my completely foreign epic fantasy, everything's different. I love those types of worlds, but to have like a very realistic one and just be like, this is just a real world, and now we're going to introduce some fantasy
Yeah.
elements and see how it impacts. It's really fascinating and very
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really liked also I don't know if that falls under a fantasy aspect, but I like the religion part of it, and it's such an important part of it, and again continues in book 2. But like the little bits and pieces that we got, there are a lot of different religions, a lot of different gods that people are following and worshiping in different ways. And it's also kind of we are all okay with that. Like we know that and we are all okay with that. And then you get like little glimpses of what everybody is doing to serve their god or their religion. And I don't know if that is considered a spoiler. I'm not saying it, but the big religious people, the big religious warriors that we are getting towards the end of the book that she meets, I love it. Like there are not enough fantasy books with these types of elements in them.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the exploration of religion and fantasy. It's just when you can be like, okay, there are all of these different gods, and this is how it works, and like here's the impact they have on like magic, or here's the different thing. There's just so much you can do with that to make the world
Yeah.
unique and interesting. So
Yeah.
I've always been a big fan too, and it was another thing where it starts very light with
Yeah.
like it's this very understated thing, and again, like this is stuff that exists, and the character doesn't know a ton to begin with, and it's kind of learning more about a specific religion and everything, this
Yeah.
specific god. And so, yeah, it just feels like it ramped. I really want to read book 2 now that we're talking about this. This is what happened last time too. We were talking about the books, and I got really excited. I'm like, now I want to go read more of them. So I'm going to definitely get to book 2, hopefully very soon.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get to book 3 maybe in July or August. We'll see. But because they are slower, I'm assuming book 3 is going to be the same thing, that it is just in general slow, and then the first 70-80% just, although with that ending, I hope she's picking up at least the beginning a little bit. And I know one person, I'm blanking on the name. Let me look it up. But someone in the Discord also read book 2 and 3 already, and said like, yeah, the ending of book 2 was, and I have a hard time not immediately continuing. Like that ending is Nick. Wait, is Nick not online here? Yep, I've seen him here before. Yep, he's online. Hello, Nick. Oh, did I lose you? No, you're there.
Oh no, yeah, I'm here.
You were not moving. Anyway, so he
Sorry.
said that I'm sorry, I'm throwing genders out. They said that's in today's world, you just don't know. To be careful. They read book 2 and 3 and phenomenal, and they just said yesterday they started with a following
The
series
prequel one, I
duology
think.
with the
Yeah.
prequel duology, and just the short sentence about like what that one is about. Yeah, I definitely have to read that too.
I have.
It's different. Like this is a series that I find more people need to talk about and need to read. It has so many
Yes.
good elements from a just fantasy aspect. Yes, it is a bit slower. Yes, it's a bit more dense, but it comes with so many good things across all aspects of fantasy. I mean, again, character depth aside, but um, it's I don't know, like, and it's I really have a hard time putting this into words properly on how good this is, especially after reading book 2. It's one of those you just, pick it up, read it, just roll with it, take your
Yeah.
time with it, read other books on the side. This is similar to like Lord of the Rings, right? Lord of the Rings is not a book that you binge through in a day or two. You just take your time with it. And this is very similar in that sense. That you just enjoy the journey, enjoy what packs are showing you, and all those little details. And it's also a series that I think I want to reread at one point and then start putting like little notes on the side and be like, oh, look at this, because it's I think there's a lot of stuff that you miss easily even if you read slowly through it, but it's just
I could see that. Yeah.
yeah, so good.
Well, I mean, just your enthusiasm after reading book 2 is like that. If I wasn't, I was already planning to continue, but if I wasn't, I feel like that would be enough of a sell for me, just because whenever you're like, this book was really good, I wonder how the next book is. And somebody's like, oh my gosh, I read that. And yeah, I mean, that's just
Yeah,
naturally amps you up. But
yeah,
yeah, this was just such a different book. And it's that's where I guess you just would call it like military fantasy,
yeah,
which like I know there's not a ton of that I've necessarily read, that I can specifically think of. This just felt different
yeah,
from a lot of the stuff too, like
yeah,
we kind of commented. But
yeah,
um, I am very, very curious to continue and see what else we're going to do here, because definitely one that I will be reading the whole thing of for sure.
yeah.
Um,
She has
and then we'll see.
another book that I also have here. Like she's definitely an author that I want to check out like other backlist titles for. And she also writes sci-fi, like Remnant something something is one of
Yeah,
the books that it's somewhere here. I'm not finding it right now. Anyway,
I think she does a lot of like military sci-fi,
yeah.
and that's also I haven't read. I'm much more well read in fantasy than I am in sci-fi, but as immediately I'm just like I'm curious to see. She does the military element so well. Now I'm curious to see that, but in space with like
Yeah.
lasers and stuff. So, because yeah,
Yeah.
it also sounds like that'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, and I could see her becoming like a Kate Elliott for the two of us, right? Like we're both big Kate Elliott fans. Yeah, Legacy of Gert, that's the one you're currently reading, right? Yeah.
I have that one somewhere too. It has a really bad cover in a fun way. And I don't know where it is. It's around here somewhere. I
That's the one thing when you move,
I
you
was
don't
ill
find
prepared.
anything anymore.
I have I have most everything set up, but I've rearranged the book so much, and I just yeah, I think I got it out at one point, and I don't know. It's it's probably staring me in the face somewhere, but I don't know. It's around somewhere. It's not important.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll talk about it at one point.
It's right next to me.
Ah. Oh,
So
it's
like
that cheesy cover. Oh my
yes,
god.
because like the night is okay, but like the face in the background is just it's very cheesy in a really fun way for me.
Okay, so let's see who gets that reference. But that face looks like Angela Merkel, who was a German chancellor for a
It kind
long
of
time,
does.
right?
Yeah. I wouldn't have come up with that on my own, but I can see it. Uh,
I remember you holding this up in a hall or something. And I was like, oh yeah, that is something
yeah.
else.
It's definitely I don't know, sometimes I really like the cheesy older covers. They can be hit or miss. It just depends, but that was
Yeah.
kind of a fun one.
Ooh, or the head in what is it, Wizard of Oz? Isn't there like a floating head too in the movie? In the whatever city, Emerald City.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh man. That's
Oh
funny.
man. Yeah, but I could see her become like Elizabeth Moon, like a Kate Elliott type author for us, where we just slowly go through the backlist. And like Kate Elliott, I feel the things she writes are like, yes, fantasy or yes, sci-fi, but like with a slightly different angle to it. Like even in book 2, there were things where it's like, oh yeah, this is very Lord of the Ring, but then one page later it's like, oh, and now you're taking it into your own direction and in a very
Yeah.
interesting manner. So and Kate Elliott has similar ways, right? She takes something that is known from real world or from other fantasy and then putting her own spin on it. And she does it very well, like in a very interesting way. And I could see
Yeah.
Elizabeth Moon becoming an author like that.
That's a really, I think, a good comparison too, just because we were talking so much about the realism elements, and that's something I feel like Kate Elliott does a lot too, with
Yeah.
doing a lot of elements of realism. And I've really enjoyed that in a lot of her stuff too, where you just have kind of sometimes it's just small, minor details, but it really does add, I think, to the depth. And yeah, I really strong with that here too so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah. Well, let me know when you get in book 2.
Oh, I
I
definitely
know
will.
there are other books that take priority at the moment for you, but yeah, eventually, I think you're going to like it too.
Yeah, I am definitely going to be picking it up. It yeah, there's been too many things I've wanted to continue, and
Yeah.
still a bunch more too. And so I'm
And then with
I am
everything that
definitely
is
looking forward.
yeah, with everything that is happening, you moving, stuff just in life, don't
I
get
say it
as much.
slowed me down.
Yeah.
I'm more getting back on track now, but definitely slowed me down.
Yeah, my May has been very, very slow too, and June is turning out to be rather slow as well. So we'll see. Eventually, though.
I
As
my
long as we are
June
reading good books, that's all that matters.
It's true. I ended up unplanned picking up like 1,000-page beta read. I picked it up early, but then like I got really absorbed into it, and so I'm really behind in other stuff I wanted to get to, but no regrets because it's been really good. So,
Yeah, 1,000
how it
pages
happens
takes a little
sometimes.
bit.
Yeah, it does
Happens.
though. And
Yeah.
I'm nearly done now, getting close. Oh man.
Awesome. Anything else that we're missing on Sheep Farmer's Daughter? Read it, people.
Yeah, I mean that's
If
what
you
it comes
take
down
anything
to, I
away
think.
from this.
Yeah, definitely check it out. One of those books and authors I feel like is just not really talked about a whole lot. So super glad that we had that on here
Yeah.
because this was a really just nice surprise.
Yeah. Also very different than others that we've had on the list so far. I mean, to be very fair, they are all very unique. Like I don't feel I none of the books that we've read so far feels like oh, this is something we've read 500 times before. Like all of them brought something unique to the table. So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
Well, we can
Next
move on
one.
to the next one, which I think will be a little bit quick. And I can't for the life of me find my copy, which I'm not planning to keep my copy, but I still have it right now, which is Dragon Prince by Melanie Ron.
And
Um,
I still haven't read it.
And I, unfortunately, this was up there with some of my more anticipated ones. I've had a copy, like it's an old mass market paperback copy for a long time, and I had the sequel trilogy in hardcover, and like a lot of books in the series. And I do plan to try more Melanie Ron, but I just did not really get on with it very well. Um, I've heard that some of the stuff is just it's after the first book, it's better, but it was I knew I'd heard that there's some like romance elements in there, and so I was kind of expecting to be a little bit meh on that, but it's more so just like the characters, especially the ones that were supposed to be having a romance, did not seem like it at all. They were just like the characters didn't mesh with me. They just kind of seemed like they weren't great people overall. And I'm just like, I don't really like these characters. And there was some parts of the premise that I don't think aged well. And then some others that just I heard about where we were going with some of the other subject material, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't think this one's going to be for me. So I
Yeah.
will try more Melanie Ron in the future. I have some of her other books I still plan to try, but I don't think this series is going to be for me. Because from what I've heard, all of the stuff that I don't like is like super integral to the series, and so I'm just like, I'm gonna step out on this one. So
Yeah. Yeah, fair. Yeah, I think it's and we probably will talk about it when we get to the fourth book a little bit as well. It's that was actually one of the questions that I had for you, because with book 4, and we will Dagger Spell, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but that was one of those where kind of the weird parts hit us out of nowhere, at least for me. But was that the same for this book for you? Did it start off in a certain way, and then you all of a sudden like, what is this? Where is this coming from? Why are we dealing with this?
So it was more so with Dragon Prince. I didn't get to the bad stuff so much because that happens
Ah,
later. I just had been kind
okay.
of forewarned about it. But it was more so, it's just like I started it off and it just at first I was just like, this isn't quite just quite landing for me. And so
Yeah,
I took a break, I
fair.
set it down, I came back to it. And then just the further I got, I just was not really caring for it.
Yeah,
There was like the element that didn't age well, and this is incredibly early on, and it is talked about a little bit more. But there's apparently like in one of the characters, um, there's this ritual to basically become a woman and be able to move like up in society where you are basic if there's more magic to it, but you're basically just in a dark room and just sleep with someone and you never know who they are, and that's like a rite of passage. And I'm like, that's kind of troubling, and feels like there's a lot of things that are problematic about that for me. So I'm like, that was weird. And that was Andrew. He DNF'd with that, and I'm like,
yeah,
I get it. I
fair.
tried,
Yeah,
like that was super early, and like I'm like that is problematic, but I was keep going. But I just like, yeah, the characters that are supposed to be, I think, having a romance seemed just they were kind of like antagonistic, and like I didn't really like either one of them, and I wasn't feeling very compelled. And then I hear there's more stuff that happens
yeah,
later, including like assault and revenge assault, and it's really important to the story. And as much as I can say without spoilers, in case
yeah,
you do.
yeah,
And
yeah,
granted, most everybody else who read it liked it, and I think people were kind of forewarned. And so it's just one of those things that if you kind of know it's coming and could go, but I also just wasn't, I found myself not really enjoying it. And I knew all that was coming.
yeah,
And that's where, yeah, we'll talk about with the other book too,
yeah.
which I did have some warning on. And I feel bad I didn't warn you about.
No,
But
that's fair. Like I go into
um,
books, I can go into all my books as blind as I can, and
I
I
usually do too.
generally enjoy them more because of that.
Yeah.
And I actually, for the books where I know, and it's not Backlist Book Club, like that's in general, for the books where I know what the theme is or what it is about, I tend to be not as excited about them as I'm reading them. So I like this whole everything blind and not knowing what's going on generally better. So my thing is, I think I still want to give this a try, because similar to you, this has been on my TBR for a long, long time. And I've actually only heard good things about it. I mean, I didn't know about any of the, rite of passage kind of stuff. Um, but I think it's, again, it's if the tone in the book matches and it fits it all together and doesn't come out of nowhere, I might still want to give it a try just to see how far I get. And then I get it though, if you didn't vibe with the main characters and just, you know, had no interest in
Yeah.
them, absolutely. Like why do you want to read the book if you don't like him in the first 100 pages, you won't like him in the next 400 probably. So
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah.
And I mean, similarly, because I've read lots of books that like have some stuff or some elements or some content that I'm not a fan
Yeah.
of, but
I mean, well, we
overall,
read
I like.
fantasy, like
Yeah, you get a lot of that,
yeah,
and that's where because sometimes you'll get that somebody's like, "Oh, you quit this book because of this, but you like this series." I'm like,
yeah,
it all just depends how it's done. And
yeah,
this was more so because the full disclosure, I was complaining to Andrew after he'd already DNF'd it about not really feeling it, and then he's like, "Just so you know, this is a thing that's going to happen later," and I'm like.
yeah,
And so that was I was already kind of not invested, and so it was just that on top. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
But I do definitely recommend trying yourself, just because again, I was kind of the outlier for the most part.
yeah,
Most of the other people reading it still really enjoyed it, and it's just you kind of never know. It's one of those things. It just wasn't ultimately working for me, and so I decided to put it down. But
and that's totally fine.
yeah,
That's totally
if you
fine.
end
I
up
mean,
loving it, though, I can send you the hardcovers for the sequel series.
so that means I need to read it relatively soon, and that's probably not going to happen if I'm very
Well,
honest.
I don't live near a bookstore anymore, so I have no idea when I'm actually going to unhaul anything. So We
Fair.
might
Okay.
have time.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. If I get to it, I'll let you know. Yeah, no, I mean, it's as you said, right? Like sometimes you vibe with something, sometimes you don't, and that's just the way of things. Like I'm just totally scrollless again, nothing to do with our little book club, but I'm also um reading Farseer trilogy right now, and I'm in book 2, in the middle of book 2, and there are a couple of things that are happening in there also. I'm like, geez, what is going on? And then I watched a review because like I got stuck in book 2 and I was like, do I want to continue or not? And then I listened to a review from someone that was telling things, spoiling things, but essentially on what's is still going to happen in book 2 and in book 3. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to read about it. So there's sometimes there are just things where like no.
Yeah.
And then
If you're already sort of there, yeah, Farseer is, and that's an interesting one too because I read the first book and I'm like this was good. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like this is what everyone's obsessed about. Like I'm like I don't get it. And then I read book 2 and I became one of the like obsessed people
Yeah.
with the series and like I was full send sold on it with the second book. And so it's sometimes you just don't know immediately either.
Yeah.
But I've done the same thing where I'm like I'm on the fence on if I want to continue a series. Let's find some spoilers, and then that can help you make the
Yeah.
decision sometimes. So.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes that works. Wasn't there another book where I did the same thing for the Backlist Book Club? I don't know anymore. No, it must have been a
Oh,
different one.
I was gonna say the Book of the Damned. I looked up spoilers for that one.
It could have
Um,
been that one. It could also have been the Cold Fire because that was one. I mean, I liked the idea, but I was like, you continued, I didn't. Um,
oh
you have some very pretty copies of that now on
my
your
gosh, I know.
on your shelf.
Those immediately became some of my favorite physical editions. They're so pretty.
They are
They're
pretty.
so
Like, I
pretty.
mean, no kidding. The covers are phenomenal for that one. Yeah, but again, I mean, sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you like something, sometimes you don't. And
Yeah.
that's just the nature of reading, I guess.
Yeah. I
Yay.
realized I had these old banners that already existed from some past live stream. So I'm like, I'll pop up non-spoiler because somebody jumped in and it's like, oh, I'm gonna leave because I don't want spoilers. I'm like, oh, we weren't talking spoilers, you can stay. So um, I figured
Yeah,
I'd
fair.
fit
It's
that in.
it's it's hard sometimes if you talk you want to talk about details, but
Been trying not to.
yes, we're
But
trying to be very, very careful.
yeah. Um, should
All
we
right, let's just move
actually
on from Dragon Prince. Again, I'll
there we
try
go.
it at one point, and then I'll let you guys know because the channels are still up for a while, which is
Yeah.
good. But yeah, when you guys wrote that, I was like, generally, if it again, right, if it's done well, it can work. Like sometimes books just have to be uncomfortable for the story
Yeah.
to be good to a certain extent. But I'm also the first one that says if it's just used to if the author wants to manipulate you with what they're writing into a certain opinion or into a certain feeling, that's where it then doesn't work for me. Like Game of Thrones is full of that kind of manipulation kind of stuff where I'm like, no. um,
Thank you for the record because I get so much crap for having problems with that series.
it's like it's good. We're getting way off topic here right now, but
No, we would never.
but Game of Thrones is one of those for me, like, I liked it when I read it, and I actually binged through most of it when I read it way back then, and I didn't even know what a big series and what an important series it was. But there's a lot of stuff in there where I'm like, Jesus, really? Do we need that? Can we not solve this kind of differently? And then probably if I would read it now, because that was like 20 years ago at least, it's you're more comfortable with uncomfortable things as you read more of that kind of stuff. Not saying it's good and to have like all of the rapey scenes and all of the whatever scenes in fantasy books, like it needs to go away at one point. But yeah, I'm not sure what point I'm trying to make with what I'm saying, but welcome to fantasy, I guess.
Oh man, it's been probably, I was thinking about it because you said 20 years. It's been, I don't know, 15, 16 years, I think, for me since I've read up through like the fourth book, I think. And I do wonder if I would have less of a problem with it now, or like
Yeah.
if I'd appreciate some of the good things more and be able to look past some of the things I didn't like more. But at the same time, unless he ever finishes it, I'm not going to reread it. Don't care.
Yeah,
So
I might at one point because I have the German. I read it in German back then, and I have the German versions as a Kindle. I might at one point, but again, it's like with all the books that are out there, it's not a high priority list. All right.
So The Wall.
Yes, that was weird.
uh, that was a weird book.
Not the move over, but the book.
Yeah, it was different. That was one, and I know I ended up doing, well, we ended up doing this, and I've Never Known Men, which wasn't technically a Backlist Book Club pick, which is funny because I liked that one a little bit more than this one.
Same.
It was. I kind of wonder if doing them in a different order might have changed my opinions. I actually, it's not out yet, but I made a video. I did a combo review where I talked about both of them because in my head they're just together because I read them close together. But I wonder if I would have liked The Wall more, but it did feel different. And it's just they both kind of have the, you're not going to get a lot of answers as to what's going on, but The Wall was the sort of, for me, you were doing the everyday stuff, but it did feel a little bit boring. Unlike Elizabeth Moon, who managed to make that engaging. I'm like, at points, I'm like, okay, we're looking for flour. We're, poking around, writing. We're just like, what's happening here? Let's let's move on a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and it the big thing for me, so yeah, I'm with you on the the Wall and the I Who Have Never Known Men are always mentioned in the same vein. And I think we had them both on our big list, right? I'm opening it up right now to see. I think we had both of them and then decided to go with the Wall. Yeah, I Who Have Never Known Men. We had that on the list as well. And then ended up putting the Wall on here. I'm actually glad we read them both in the same month. Because one, I finally got them off my TBR and I sold both copies already because it was one of those, I read it, good, now I read it, we can move on. But yeah, The Wall it starts out so well. And I had at one moment, I was like, oh, is this the inspiration for Under the Dome by Stephen King? Because it started out very similarly with the, all of a sudden there's something that they can't get through and like a wall, right? Like an invisible wall, and something happened on the other side and something is happening on her side. And then it never went anywhere. It was literally a diary of her living in the Alps.
Yeah.
Till the ending, and then all of a sudden something happened at the ending, and then it was just over. No explanation, no nothing. It was just like, well, I guess, I'll just continue, kind of.
Yeah,
What?
and like it was, I feel like, at least to an extent, like I can kind of get what the author was going for thematically, because it is, it's exploring the idea of a woman being isolated, and um similar to I Who Have Never Known Men, who did it in a very different way. It's kind of
Yeah.
about that female isolation and what being a woman means when there's like you don't have like the other side of the coin. They both kind of
Yeah.
are exploring that, and it's exploring like her, and her being a woman kind of ceases to matter because she's just her. She's just a person. This is her existence. She has her cow. She's just trying to get by. So like I can kind of get that, and even the ending, it did feel like it came out of nowhere. And I can kind of get, again, it's just pointing out some stuff there that I can kind of get it, but again, it did just kind of feel like this is just someone writing about their everyday life, and it did not pull me in nearly as much.
Yeah.
And I think I liked I Have Never Known Men more than you did too. Um,
Yeah.
and I chatted with a few other people, including Jake. I got him to read it. He did not care for it at all. He did not like it one bit. And I'm like, I get it, but like that one, for some reason, that one really engaged me more.
Yeah.
Even though they have some similarities, although they're also like stylistically and with the overall ideas polar opposites in a lot of ways, but they're exploring some similar themes. But it just I don't know, that one really stuck with me more, and just ended up working better for me than
Yeah.
The Wall did, I think, overall.
Yeah. I think, I mean, both fall into the literary category. Wall mentioned in okay,
I don't think I
interesting.
know two old women.
I've maybe wait, no, actually I've heard about this. Okay, this also falls into that same category. Well, I need a big break from these types of books and then maybe read it at one point. They are both falling into the literary category for me. So there's a lot of like not black and white on paper, but there's a lot of stuff being said as as you read the book and as you go through things. Especially like, yes, isolation is the big overarching theme, but there was a lot of stuff going on with the cats and the cow and the dog and her interaction with all of them. So, but it never went anywhere for me. Like that was the thing. I was expecting, like with I Who Have Never Known Man, you have a certain conclusion and what you knew where this was going and this is where it ended up, but it felt like it had an ending and you got through the journey. With The Wall, it was not a straightforward thing, right? It's kind of a, oh, I tell you something now, this is what I did the last 3 days, and then 4 months of nothing, and then like you get a quick recovery, like re-thing of the 4 months, and then, oh, and now whatever, the cat is in labor, whatever. Yeah. And I think because I've read Under the Dome, that's where my head went with that. And that's what I was expecting. And it never went anywhere there. So again, that is one where it would have been better to know what's going on potentially, because if I would have known that it is more like a diary entry of a random person in the Alps, I maybe would have enjoyed it better for what it was, instead of sitting there and it's like, what is now this? So what, right? Like that was my reading experience. I was always waiting for so
That's fair. Yeah.
Right. Where did it come from? Like what's going on? What's your conclusion here at the end? And we never got that.
Yeah, I feel like with literary fiction, and I don't read a ton of it, and
Same.
some of the things we're talking about is why, because if I have to, and I not necessarily for this one, but like I don't remember what it was, but I read some like really well-known famous literary fiction thing, and I'm like, what the heck? And then I read an essay that was longer than the thing itself, explaining how genius it was, and I'm just like, yeah, but like if that's the level I have to dig into this to find any sort of enjoyment, I'm not super interested in that.
Yeah.
And this was more, I do feel like from a literary perspective, I think it was well done, and I can get kind of what they're going for, but I was in a similar boat where like I gave The Wall 4 stars, and at least one of those stars was, I think the author accomplished what they wanted to and did it well. But if we're going just based on enjoyment, it's definitely going to probably drops down to like a 3 for me, because I'm just like, I get what you were doing, but I didn't engage me as well.
Yeah.
And that's where that was the huge difference with I Who Have Never Known Men, is it probably got like an extra star for me, and that was a 5 for me, because like I got really engaged. I did it all in one sitting too, which I feel like kind of helped with that one.
Yeah.
Because there were some elements there that also dragged a little bit, and I could have done a little bit less of. I feel like you probably know what I'm talking about. Specifically, didn't need that much focus on this particular thing. Could have done without that, I feel like. But overall, it's just that one engaged me a lot more, and this one I never felt fully engaged, and that's where it ended up.
I think it's also, I'm wondering, The Wall is older, right? It was written in the 60s, if I remember correctly. So I also wonder if there was something more relevant for that time that Marlon Haushofer was going for. The other thing also, even though this is not my favorite book ever, I still kind of want to sit down and read it in German, in its original language, because she is German, or at least German speaking. I don't know if she's Austrian or Swiss or whatever. But I wonder if there might have been also something that was lost in translation a little bit. Yeah. And then to your point on I Who Have Never Known Man,
there really was so much counting.
I found that a little bit ridiculous. Like, I don't know how realistic that was, but that felt more like a dystopian sci-fi in that sense, even though The Wall is like also a dystopian, or I don't know, and never know. No, not post-apocalyptic. Dystopian would be the right word, right? The right subgenre for that. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Could go either way, honestly. It was kind of different.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, very fair. Like with I Who Have Never Known Men, I feel you get actually more, there's a world that you get to know. There's a history that you get to know. Like there's things that have like it has more sci-fi elements, even though it falls still into the literary category and deals with isolation and but like there's still a lot of questions that you're going through as you're reading the book, but there's more tangible stuff that you can latch onto as someone who loves stories because there's an actual story there. With The Wall,
I think that's really well put, honestly. Yeah, I completely agree. The Wall did feel a lot less like a story and kind of like you
yeah,
said, just it's this lady's diary entries, and
yeah,
it's not quite as exciting um overall. And so it doesn't have to be
yeah,
exciting, but yeah, it did feel like there was less of a story happening there. And even with I Have Never Known Men, even though it was just similarly a character kind of telling their story matter of factly, there was more to it, like
yeah.
before, after. You felt like there was a little more depth.
Yeah. And that one I would actually have loved an actual sci-fi version of it. Like not a literary book, but I would love
Mm.
to read like a 500-page actual story set in the world of I Who Have Never Known Men because I found the premise so much more interesting also than The Wall after reading it. Like once before I read both books and before I knew, what they were about, The Wall actually had the better premise for me. But then after reading, I think I Who Have Never Known Man, my goodness, this is also a title, ridiculous. Um, the premise was so great. Like I loved this whole concept of, and I don't think this is a spoiler, of the 40 women stuck in the bunker, being held hostage by men soldiers that feed them and always like on a whatever cycle, feed them and bring stuff and but never talk to them. They're not allowed to interact. Like this whole premise I think is done so well, and then everything that happens afterwards. There's some really interesting aspects of it on how these women dealt with certain things. But yeah, I would love this as an actual sci-fi story. Like an actual dystopian sci-fi where you get the whole story with world building, with character deep dive and whatnot. I think there's so much in there that I would love
Yeah.
to see more. I know that's not the purpose of this book. I'm fully aware of that, being it more literary and again more themes on isolation, and there's probably also some gender conversation that I didn't get at all. But that's I'm a story person. I
No,
would love
I
to
can
get more
get that.
detail. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where I feel like you have to approach from a different mindset when you're going with literary. And that's one of the things
Yeah.
I love about fantasy and sci-fi and everything too, because you can get all of this cool stuff and you can still have the same kind of theme work and it done well. And not everybody does, but definitely can. And I think it's funny you say that because um because The Wall and I Have Never Known Men were both picks that you would put onto the big list. And we
Yep.
were picking between them, and I chose The Wall because I'm like, The Wall sounds more interesting to me. And so
Yeah.
it's funny, but then it was afterwards, I had never heard of either one of these at the time when we first made the list. I wasn't familiar with either one, but then I just kept seeing stuff about I Who Have Never Known Men, people doing reviews, talking about it. I'm like, I'm really curious now. So I'm
Yeah.
glad we did both as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you said that with it being more sci-fi, because it feels almost like if you add just a few more sci-fi elements, it would feel a little bit almost like Ray Bradbury-esque with some of his just weird
Right.
ideas. And that
Yeah.
only just now occurred to me.
Yeah.
Um,
You're absolutely
but
right.
I feel like, yeah, he could have some of his stories are kind of that weird thing where you don't get all the answers, but just like a little heavier on sci-fi elements, I think would work. But I would absolutely read that. If you just kind of change it a little bit, make it more actual sci-fi, I would read the heck out of that,
Yeah.
honestly, because I really enjoyed it for what it was, even though it could not be much further from my normal kind of read. But I really enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah.
But I would be also cool if you add some more in there because it felt like it would have been so easy. It was just like maybe a quarter turn
Yeah.
to the sci-fi. You could have just turned a little bit more and
Yeah.
done that for sure. But
Yeah. Yeah.
the mindfulness handbook, I can see.
I mean, The Wall
Um,
too, in that sense.
yeah, kind of. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like they
Yeah.
both kind of went that route for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Who Have Never Known Men, the reason why it keeps popping up lately is I think last year was like a 25-year anniversary of that book or something. I'm not sure, but
That
there
would make
was, I think,
sense.
some anniversary, which is why a lot of people picked it up and read it. Yeah. I've heard about it. What's her channel? Emily Fox, one of the first booktubers that I started watching way back when. And in one of her initial videos, that's how I heard about it. And she also named both. And then every time I watched someone talk about it oh, I hold this and then I also hold the other one because they always go together. I'm like, okay, cool. And I can see why. Like I
Yeah.
get the appeal in that sense. But yeah, I'm 100%. I who have never known men was the better one of the two.
If you do end up reading The Wall in German, though, let me know because I'm super curious if it like hits differently,
Yeah,
because that's always something with translated works.
yeah.
You just don't know if something's lost. And I've read Ken Liu, anything, anything. I've read translated works where it just feels lifeless and you don't feel like you get anything. And I'm just like, I can't imagine it was like this in the native
Although
original
that could
writing.
also be the Asian cultural Asian part of it because Asian culture has a just very different tone even in the original one. So it's not because the translation for anything Asian is typically not westernized, right? Where you add like more
That's
depth
fair.
to it. It could I don't know, could be. I'm trying to sound smart without it being
No,
it. So
I mean, I think that is fair because even some of his stuff too, that's not that's not something he did as a translation. I felt like was a little bit lacking, but I don't know, specifically some of his translated stuff. And I've read other translated books that worked much better for me, including like Asian translated ones. Because there's
Hmm,
a what's it called? Oh, I can't remember, but it's up here. Blood of the Old Kings by Sung Il Kim. So
yeah.
is Korean, and that's a translated. And that was really different. And you could tell that it was not originally in English just with some of the way that it was written, but also it was, I don't know, that one I really enjoyed. And I've had other things too. And like both of these for me, I felt like I got a lot out of them. And I didn't feel like I was missing something
Yeah.
necessarily from translated. So
Yeah.
it can kind of depend. But yeah, it is different
Yeah.
cultures for sure. But I'm always curious on that. Just if you would read something in the original language, would it change your opinion or not? And I don't actually know how to read any other languages, so I can't personally find out, but I would be curious.
You could learn another language.
I could. I don't know how well that's going to work out. So I tried to learn. I know like the tiniest bit of Spanish, and
Yeah.
I tried to learn Italian for a while just because I don't have a whole lot of my heritage way back as Italian, um, and so like a few things here or there, but I would like to at some point. I just knowing myself, I find it unlikely I'm going to devote the time that I would need to really learn another language,
Yeah. Well, and the
which
thing
is
is
a
you need to
failing on
use
me
it.
as a person. Yeah,
Yeah. And you need to
oh, for
use
sure.
it. Like that's the big thing with languages. You stop like you unlearn it really fast. Like when I moved to the US and didn't speak German for the first 2 years other than like once a month talking to my parents, my German was horrible. And
I
I
can
grew up
imagine.
there.
Yeah,
Like I am like that's my native tongue and poof gone.
yeah. I
So
do
if you
feel
don't
like
use it, you
using.
you lose a lot. And I learned a lot of languages. Like I learned Russian, I learned Latin, a little bit Danish just because we're I see Danish here. I don't know anything anymore. Like,
Mm,
yeah,
I
sad. Anyway, one of the things with the wall, see, yeah, s- um, yeah, there was a point to I who had never. I could totally agree with that. Yes.
yeah.
Um, oh, so unfortunately, I didn't write it down. I should have done that. I will do that the next time this comes up. But I had a couple of situations where I was reading the wall, and I was like, I know what you're trying to tell me because, like the plants and the animals and all the stuff was translated, and the things in the house, right, like in the Alp hut and whatnot. There were a lot of things that were translated, and I had to chuckle because I knew what the German word was, and I was like, this sounds so silly in English.
Oh, I'm so curious now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I forgot I should have written it down, but I had a
Mm.
couple of moments where I was like, "Huh."
Just like done a little too literally or something. I could,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if it was too literal or if it was just I've never heard the English word for some of the things before, and I was like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, I
That's
think
fun.
I would want again, not today or tomorrow, but at one point,
Yeah,
wanna give it a go and see just if it hits different. Also, now that I know what the story is about, but yeah.
for sure. I feel like there's a, yeah, they'd be ones, both of them. I feel like kind of knowing what they are and reading and seeing like, do you get something a little bit different? Because
Yeah.
sometimes literary fiction is like that, where the opposite of fantasy and stuff where I like to go in blind. Sometimes if you already know what you're reading and you're kind of like watching out for it, it can add to it. So I can definitely see that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all
Oh
right.
yeah.
Should we talk your
Sivelyn
favorite,
was
right?
just saying she learned German in school. You Danish people learn German with English together, right? You learn all three languages. Yeah. If you ever want to speak German, let me know. Sorry, go ahead. Dagger spell. Yay.
Oh, no. I missed that. I missed a couple. That's why I was trying to go back every now and then and catch the comments. So I was glad you got
It's
that
really
one.
nice to not be the host and not be the one
I don't
clicking
mind it
through.
too much. I am notoriously bad about neglecting the chat though. And it's too where there's on a couple of my live things I've done, I just will ignore the chat and I'll be like, hey, I'm not even gonna, you feel free to comment, but it's just, yeah, I get kind of lost in conversation sometimes. And so I'm this one, it's the chat has been very like relevant constantly. So I'm like, oh, let's bring this up. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's worked out pretty well this time. But Dagger Spell, which I have, this is the one I found. I was very ill prepared with getting copies of
That
these.
is a very
This
cool
is,
cover too, though.
I do like my camera's not going to focus, but it's a
Is it
pretty
like just a
interesting cover.
cheesy star?
It's like you can see like they look like fairies or pixies or something that are in there. There's more detail, I think. Let me try and make it focus because hold on.
No, it focuses on your. Oh, wait, a little bit.
Is that better?
It's one of those cheesy covers, though. Again, not quite as cheesy
Yeah.
as Angela Merkel's set floating.
Yeah. Oh, I made my overall focus much worse. Whoops.
Sorry. There we go.
Yeah, it's good enough. Yeah. Okay.
There you are in focus again.
I buffed it a little bit. That's fine. But Dagger Spell, yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, this is I randomly so much of the stuff for Backlist Book Club I had been looking for a long time, and I wasn't finding copies. And then I went to this one random bookstore that was like an hour 15, hour 20 away from me that I've never been to before. And it was a used bookstore, and they just had like everything. And I'm just like, and so I start grabbing all these old series. I got some Vorkosigan books. I got this. I got some of the CJ Cherry that we're going to be getting to later. Like they just had all kinds of Backlist Book Club stuff. So I'm just like, cool. So I actually have a decent amount of copies of the stuff now, but this one is real different. And we did allude to it a little bit with the big thing. And I had been somebody had just specifically told me that there's a big like gross thing that happens in it. I didn't know what
we can mention that, right? Like I know
yeah, I
it's
feel
not
like it
really
is.
a spoiler. It's
Yeah,
actually good if you know what's happening, I think.
agree. Because I didn't know specifically, but the book does feature there's incest that happens, which is pretty early on and is quite relevant to the overall series, is the understanding too. And that's actually kind of the premise. Because going back and looking, it doesn't always reference that specifically, but the base premise of this series is it's a big like overall story, but that people do get, you get like constantly sort of reincarnated, sort of like just your soul, you're reborn, so to
Yeah.
speak. It's like it's not as different things necessarily, but then your soul is still tethered to like all of the people you were, but it's these two souls because of this big bad thing that happens with the incest. They end up kind of like intertwined, and there's somebody who's sort of wizard who vows to resolve the situation and doesn't really know what that entails, and so now he like has to try to fix it but catch them in enough time. So that's sort of the overall plot and the premise here. And I didn't specifically know that was going to happen, but it was called out that something happened, and was definitely not my favorite. I commented though, and it's funny because we talked about A Song of Ice and Fire earlier. I felt like there was like a ton more graphic stuff in that than this, but also it's the way that this comes up, and it is darker for sure in some ways than that initially there, because it's kind of different in that series. But
Yeah.
the big thing for me, I feel like, is I was invested in one of the plot lines already, like the most future plot line.
Yeah.
which is it is about a girl who is, at the very beginning, her mother dies and her father's like a famous mercenary, and then he comes along and she has to go off with him. And like I was interested in that plot line initially, and so I was a little bit less interested in the older plot line. And so when that happened, I'm like, "Ugh, I don't like that." But then we get back to the other stuff that I was liking more. And so the further I got in, the more I was invested. And just overall, the world, the premise, I find really fascinating. So it was one where like still wasn't a big fan of that by any means. And I feel like I don't know. I've seen a lot of stuff saying like, oh, it did have to be that had to happen. I'm just like, I feel like you could have figured out some
Yeah,
other
you could
way
have you could
to
have just made it like
accomplish.
star-crossed lovers without
Um,
it being incestuous of some sort.
yeah,
Yeah.
somebody did comment on my review of it and said that because there's a lot of stuff that makes this feel like Welsh inspired with some of the names, and said that it's alluding to in like Arthurian legend with King
Yeah.
Arthur sleeping with his sister. And so I didn't actually think about that at all at the time, but it does kind of make sense in retrospect, um, with that being sort of the reference. But still, I feel like you could have gone a different way, and I would have
Yeah.
been much happier about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because the actual, and again, that happens pretty early, like that pretty early. Like the actual reason for him to say like I will fix this is because he is madly in love with her. And there's so many, and she with him, which he didn't realize, right? Like he
Yeah.
figured that out basically once she was dead or as she was dying. I don't recall exactly anymore. But like there's so many other ways how you could have made this work, this whole, because I'm with you. Like this whole reincarnation or this long storyline, this fixing thing is super fascinating. That's why I read up to like 60% or 62% or something. But the other thing felt just so jarring. Like this, it just didn't fit with the rest of the story for me. Um, where like because the tone and the way the story was told and the way the characters are, it's very tame actually compared to that. Like
Overall,
there's
yeah.
no big swearing, no bloody scenes, no gore everywhere, but then you have this very like non-fitting thing there, and that's what kind of bugged me. And then in general, like that is a theme I don't like to read about, and
Mm,
I was like when I read it in Game of Thrones, I was like, why do we have this? This is so weird. Like that was one of the
yeah.
big parts that I did not like at all in Song of Ice and Fire. And but so like to answer that question here, Song of Ice and Fire, at least the entire series has the same dark tone. I mean, everything is blood and murder there. Everything is backstabbing and everybody is horrible. Whereas in this one, there's so many nice people. Like it felt more
That's
like a
fair.
D&D adventure than um a grimdark series, right? Like it's Daggerspell's not at all, not even dark. I would say like it's a very straightforward fantasy story with a really cool
Yeah.
premise, but then you have this thing thrown in there, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah, I think yeah, because this feels just very kind of like light classic style fantasy, and then you
Yeah,
have that element in there. I think for me too, it's the situation around it in this book, which I won't get into like a ton of details, but it's more like tragic, whereas the Song of Ice and Fire, like I still found it gross. But it like the situationally, I feel like it was a little bit different there too with how it
yeah,
was portrayed. And so it's yeah, I think the tone and the feel of the story definitely plays into it. Um, but yeah, it's I was this is definitely one that like I was invested enough that in spite of that, I ended up really enjoying the series because I am planning to, or not the series, the book. I am planning to continue. And I think book two will be the one for me where that's going to be kind of the make or break one. Because I
yeah,
found the premise fascinating. There were things I really liked, but there were also things that I didn't care for in this book. So I think book two, I'm planning to continue at some point here, hopefully soonish, because I just kind of want to see, is this going to be a series for me? Because
yeah,
it seems like it is this big overarching series that I could end up really enjoying, but also have to see what it is. And oh,
yeah.
there's yeah. Well,
I
that's
don't
yeah,
know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
I've
know.
seen I've seen other people with kind of thing, and I get it. I it's effective at establishing like, oh, this is such a bad thing that's
Yeah.
why this is
It's like
happening.
the worst of the
Uh,
worst, right? Like
yeah.
it's a little bit similar to, and I don't think that was the intent here, but it's a little bit similar to have you read The Kite Runner ever? No worries.
Maybe, but it would have been so many years that I don't
Yeah, no,
really
no, no, no
remember a whole
worries.
lot.
But this is just the first example that always comes to mind. But like when you, as an author, write something so bad that the only thing as a reader you can feel is ill. What is this? Like you write the worst of the worst things that could happen in this particular situation. And I think if you are a good writer, you can tell the same story with something not as absolutely negative. There are other negative things or other bad things that could have happened that could have resulted in such a,
I think
mess for
that's
the
fair.
future. I think, I'm not a writer, but I think there are other ways you can handle that kind of stuff, especially in the fantasy genre. And I've seen it with a lot of other fantasy series. Like Green Rider is a great example that I'm taking. There's so much shit that happens to this main character, but none of it is just like, oh, she was raped. Like it's a lot of little things that just accumulate over time. And Kristen Britton does a fantastic job in showing how that slowly changes our main character in the series over time. And it's not just a like, she was raped or there was incest or there was, like, sorry, your monetizing is going out the window now with all of this.
Eh. No, I don't care.
But I think there are better ways of doing this. But then again, we're reading fantasy, and this is also a bit older. I mean, older one. I don't know, 80s, 90s.
I say this is 80s, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is typical for that time. So, I'm not saying back then you should have known better. It's just for me, it was like the first one I got over it too. I put the book down. I was like, oh, what is this? But then I was so interested, similar to you, I was so interested in the actual story that I, sorry, I saw the one comment and, anyway,
I missed that.
it just popped up.
Yeah, I love it.
Shoot, where was I? Oh, so I'm not expecting it to be, I don't know, where was I? I lost my train of thoughts. Thanks,
Which
CK.
is
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah,
Shit.
sorry. No, it was the perfect time for that. But yeah, so you were saying like with older series, it's more prevalent, and you can kind of see that. And you read it, and at first you were still interested enough to continue.
Oh, yes. Yeah, right. So so I then continued because the story was so interesting, and I love the premise because that is also something that I haven't really read before in that way. So the way this whole reincarnation part, ZK, yes, that works very well, but then it happens again at 60%, and I'm like, this we really didn't need. Like, come on. That one was really not necessary right now. And yeah, that was the moment where it's just like, you know what, because I'm also reading Roll Your Assassin right now, and there's also a lot of weird shit happening. I was like, I'm just done with this right now.
Yeah, I get it. I do agree, which is why I left on the non-spoiler tag, because that is part of the premise, to be fair, but also I feel like you're better off knowing that going into the book, just so that it's not a shock, because it's kind of what you were talking about here. But yeah, it's it is one of those things. And I think I've had lots of books that involve that sort of thing, one way or another, I guess, not specifically incest so much, although there's some with that too. But like when I do feel like, and especially in a lot of older fantasy, authors were too quick to just go to that and have that just be the expected thing. And so it is, and I've read, more like plenty of modern fantasy that does that kind of stuff too. But I feel like it's also, authors are a little bit more aware of it now, and it's a little bit less prevalent because there are more authors who don't just go straight to that. But you do sometimes with older fantasy. It's almost a coin flip if you're just going to have like, are you going to throw it in this book? It's just because it's unfortunately prevalent. And I like so much older fantasy, and I try to be cognizant of it, but it's still, this is one of those books where like I ended up really enjoying this book still. But you being like, nope, I'm not going to do this, or anybody who decides to put this down, totally fair, totally get it. Because it's just, this what happens, and if you're immediately just like, nope, I don't want to read this, I think that's completely
Yeah.
fair as well.
Yeah, and it might be again. I'm in a funky reading mood right now too, which I acknowledge as well. So I'm usually because I love grimdark, right? Like I'm usually not squirmish with anything. I've read some weird grimdark books with similar themes, but again, then the whole book was in that theme. Gunmetal Gods is a great example for that as well. One of my favorite other series, very grimdark, lots of that kind of stuff. Not just, but in general. Um, uh I would still be interested to hear from you as you continue with the series to see, okay, are we really done with this now? And is it now really more about the actual story and how that resolves
Yeah.
eventually? Or are we getting more and more of that even in future timelines? Because that would be something where I wouldn't want to continue then. But
Fair
if
enough.
we, if what happened like at the 60% mark roughly, if that doesn't happen again with other characters, I might be willing to pick it back up and then move on and continue reading. And
It
again,
does.
it's also
Somebody
just a situation.
commented. Yeah,
Go
somebody
ahead.
commented in the Discord thread, and they did say that that specific thing is directly addressed, and like the character recognizes that it's wrong and like actively moves
I
past it in
know.
either like book 2 or 3.
I
So
know.
there's that
I
at
was
least.
at
But
that
yeah,
part. Yeah.
I don't know if
Still.
there's well, but yeah, that's I will definitely let you know because it's one too that I didn't read this and I'm like, ooh, this is amazing. But I do find the premise, like the overall world,
Yeah.
really fascinating.
Yeah.
And after I looked into the series a little bit more after the first book, and it seems like it could be one that I will end up being really into. But book 2 is going to be for sure. I'm going to read
Yeah.
the second book and just
Yeah.
kind of see what do I think because it's one I could go either way on. And there's sometimes you get that where and I think with this, um, this is one of the ones too that it's a very long series, and so it's just one of those things I'll have to find out. And sometimes too, when you're starting with like the first book or the first series that an author wrote too, you're not necessarily getting them at their best too. So you got to kind of be willing to see, hey, are things getting better there? But
Yeah.
I also like reading things in order, so that's just kind of my
Yeah.
my
There's
thing
what,
I end up
16
doing a lot of the
books?
times as well too.
Yeah. 16 books total
Yeah,
or something. Yeah.
there are a lot of them, and so that's where I'm just like I'm curious still to see where
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No, and again, I get it because it
but
has a unique element to it. Like this is not something you see in too many other fantasies. And by the way, the Arthurian comment absolutely makes sense. I know that you mentioned that a little bit earlier that it has like the
mm,
Arthurian inspiration. Like from a storytelling part. By the way, all those weird names, I had them as when I was reading it. It's I was not trying to pronounce any of those.
oh my gosh, that's yeah. It reminded me of and I still because I originally read it when I was like really little, but Prydain, which by Lloyd Alexander, which is all Welsh
Yeah.
like folklore and very Welsh names with no vowels, all the consonants you could think of. And so it's where immediately, whenever I read like the Welsh thing, I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to know how to pronounce any of this stuff, am I?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure I pronounced all kinds of things wrong in my review, but I'm also bad with names anyway. And when they're hard to pronounce names, I do the same thing. Where like I make my brain makes a snap judgment on how to pronounce something as I'm reading it, and that's what it is forever.
Yes.
And there are some of them that I realize I don't know how to pronounce until you try to say it out loud because the brain's just like, and you just
Yeah. Yeah. Which is fine as long as you can differentiate all the different sounds from like which one now
yeah,
is what.
rereading after learning Welsh was
Uh, yeah, Welsh is not a language that I want to learn necessarily. Like actual Welsh, that must not be easy.
probably. I am
I like the
really,
writing
really
too.
excited to try
Yes,
it.
I
Sure.
agree.
Yeah.
The writing was also again different, not your typical 90s 2000s fantasy. It had like a really nice it
Mm.
flowed really nicely. Also not the fastest of the books, but it was just, you picked it up, you read a little bit and like, okay, cool. And the next day you picked it up again, read a little bit. Like it had a good that's why I also continued because I actually really liked what was going on. But yeah, again.
Yeah. Well, in this one, I don't think I actually even mentioned this yet, but it also got a little bit of benefit of the doubt for me because when one of the times I had Kate Elliott on the channel, she specifically mentioned this series and like complimented what it does in its big arcs. So I'm just like, you get Kate Elliott on your side. That's going to help your case with me, because it's when like an author that you love is like, oh, I like this series. Like I'm gonna give it a good shot, hopefully too.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just, yeah, it's, I don't know. I feel like you do get that sometimes, and like because the other long D one that's by Catherine, because you have this also very easy to mix up, because you have this is Devery by Catherine Kurtz, and then there's Deraney by Catherine Kerr. Yeah, very easy to mix up. But I read the first Deraney book by Catherine Kerr, which was very Arthurian legend, actually, too, to
Oh,
the point
okay.
of it didn't. I don't know. Somebody I think got mad at me for saying it in the review, but it just felt like something I'd read before. It didn't offer a whole lot for me, and so that one I was a lot less interested in, and wasn't really planning to continue, even though that's another really long series. This one though definitely did enough unique stuff that I was very
Yeah.
interested to continue.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry. I hope you're not hearing my stomach started to grumble all of a sudden. Sorry if that was picked up.
wait, did I say them wrong? Literally right now?
Well, let's look in the list. So we have Catherine Kerr,
Oh my gosh, I did say the
Kerr,
wrong
or
ones.
Devery,
Ah,
Daggerspell.
whoops. Okay, that's too funny. I literally just did say them backwards. So yes, Catherine Kerr is the Devery, the Daggerspell, the book we've just been talking about for 20
Yeah,
minutes. And Catherine Kurtz is
Deraney. Yeah, Deraney.
yeah,
One of those.
that's well, I guess that proves my point. They're very easy to mix. I don't know, man. Um, apparently, we need a lunch break. It's clearly so. The
Yeah,
caffeine I'm drinking is not helping. But
yeah. Well, that's why I have my leaves
at least
every now and then.
I prefer hot leaves. Okay, come on.
In general, yes, but let me be a little bit American with iced tea.
Mine has a leaf on the can.
Yours looks prettier.
This video is sponsored before it gets demonetized by Bloom Sparkling Energy. I tell you, if an energy drink company reached out and wanted to sponsor me, probably wouldn't even care who it was. I would have to be very tempted by that. I don't think they're going to, but if they did for some reason, drink way too many energy
You never
drinks.
know. There's a t-shirt company that started reaching out to whole different people, like booktuber. There's a booktuber that sponsors with them or is sponsored by them. There's a Magic the Gathering content creator that I watch that is sponsored by them. Energy drink, t-shirt, neither really fits, but works, right?
I did legitimately, and I get, for being such a small channel in all things considered, I get a surprising amount of like sponsorship ad request things, but they're always for the most random possible products. And I recently got one that is it's for some sort of like belt you wear when you go running or hiking, like as like it was some sort of belt thing, I guess, that helps with like resistance or weight or something. And it said it would be perfect for my channel, my viewers' very active lifestyle. And I'm like, man, like I talk about books. My people are at home in a chair
They're
reading a book.
couch potatoes.
Like, yeah, I mean, maybe some of them are listening to audiobooks hiking, but I'm just like, I don't know who you think you just reached out to.
They don't. That's the thing. It's a generic message that goes out
Yeah.
to everyone. Yeah.
And they make me laugh sometimes, though.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've gotten some very weird request ones, and I never made a short about this because I feel sort of bad calling out a company, but I got a request from this company to advertise for their fantasy sort of related bookmarks, and I look, and they sent me a code and said you can get like 6 free bookmarks on our website, and I'm like, yeah, probably not, but I looked, I'm like, okay, these are actually really cool. And so I go in, I look, I find some, I put my code in, doesn't work. I email their support, doesn't work, bounce back. And I'm just like, you actually get me interested And then you send me a bad code and you have a bad support email. And then yet they still added me to their mailing list. And so I started getting emails from them. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to advertise for you.
Yeah, no, you probably dodged a bullet with that one. Yeah. Who knows?
But
It is tricky. It is tricky. Like knowing, okay, what's like spam and just garbage and just wanting to get your money versus real stuff.
yeah, I've always said, like, if somebody reaches out and it's like a legitimate thing, and like I actually like this or this is cool because I'm not gonna like lie and say like I love mobile app game whatever. I
Yeah.
can't remember what that one is, but the one you saw in ads everywhere for like years. And
Yeah.
it's like I'm not gonna advertise for something I wouldn't use, but like if it's a bookmark, I'm a book channel. If I like your bookmarks, I'll be like,
That
hey,
makes
these are
sense.
actually really cool. Yeah,
Yep.
but or as I found out too, if you offer me a special edition, beautiful, pretty book, I haven't gotten it yet, but I
Are you
just did a
talking
short.
Daniel Burnett's?
No, I'm still jealous about that. I'm gonna. Oh,
There goes the
uh,
energy drink.
I was gonna say, luckily it's mostly empty, so it's okay. But I'm gonna ask Daniel to be on my channel, and then I'm gonna yell at him for not sending me a free book.
Don't. He is so
I'm
nice.
kidding.
Don't do
I
that.
know he is really nice. I've interacted with him in the past before, and technically I still have an ARC copy of Lily that he sent me way back. Um, but no, I would never really yell at him for that. But Mercedes Lackey, her like team reached out to me because they're doing a Kickstarter for. Here's more free advertising for Mercedes Lackey, I guess. But they're doing a special edition for the first the Heralds of Valdemar trilogy. And I read the first book and I really liked it. And then I read the next two and I was super mixed. And I ended up not being like the biggest fan of the series overall. And so I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that I can actually like advertise for this. And then I clicked the link and I'm like, oh, and it's really pretty. So I did a short and I'm just like, I even in the short said, hey, I'm kind of mixed on this. And I told them, and they were cool with it, that I said I was really mixed on the trilogy and they were totally cool with it. Um, and they're sending me a special edition of this like collection of short stories from the world. And I'm like, well,
Mhm.
okay, A, it looks really pretty. B, I was planning to read more of her stuff because this was like her first trilogy. And that's a long series. She's written a
Yeah.
lot of other stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm very curious to try her as an author more. So I'm like, this is a great excuse. So like that, I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel totally fine about that because
Yeah.
also they didn't say like, can you please highlight this or that? I'm like, they just said, here's a link to everything and asked if I'd be interested. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, it is a really pretty book. So
They are
really
like
pretty book.
people are getting really good with these special editions,
I
especially the ones that you
know.
can get on Kickstarter. My goodness.
Yeah. There's
There's
too
some
many
pretty
of
stuff
them.
out there.
But that's where I'm just like, but when you're like kind of mixed on a trilogy and you still immediately are like, oh my gosh, I want this so bad. This is really cool looking. It's like that's a good sign that you've done a
Yeah.
really good job making
Yeah.
your special edition really, really cool.
And who knows,
Um,
maybe you're going to be a huge fan once you continue reading that.
it could be. I was gonna say I actually was I was debating on seeing if they'd be interested because I need to start up my live chat show again. Um, but so I definitely I CS Friedman I really want to get on, and she's doing on Griftkin's channel
Yeah.
I know soon. So that I'm like okay, so she does do interviews. I'm like definitely want to talk with her as well too. But like that's it's I don't know. It's again it's especially and she's written Mercedes Likey's written so many books too,
Yeah.
and that's where I wasn't I liked enough about what I read that I was planning to continue because I'm not gonna, unless I really don't like something, I'm not gonna write off an entire author's,
Yeah.
you know,
And
book
I mean, it
work.
doesn't
But
have to be like all 5-star reads, right? Like if a
yeah,
series, especially a series like hers, or if you look at something like, I don't know, Dresden or her stuff or whatever R.A. Salvatore is writing, right? None of this is like the best thing ever, but they're
yeah.
fun entertainment type books for, in the middle of longer stuff or more dense stuff. It's just good entertainment. And sometimes we need just
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. And it was still like, I mean, I read the trilogy and I still really liked things. And that's sort of like
Yeah.
strong first book, I was kind of mixed. And granted, also plays into that whole conversation with something coming out of nowhere, content wise, for the record, in the third
Good
book
to know.
of that trilogy. Yeah. And that was the second book I had issues with for other reasons. But in the third book, something like that kind of comes out of nowhere. And I'm just like, yeesh. Okay. I did not need that to happen. And So that's where too. It's just like I'm sure I'm not the only person to be sort of mixed. We just fun fact spiked in viewers for no apparent reason for a second, an hour and a half in. We're not even talking about the same topic anymore. But
I mean, we can go back and talk about what's next if you know, if we want to do that.
I just thought the little view counter just all of a sudden like jumped up multiple, and I'm just like, okay, everybody just decided to tune in right now. But we've gotten incredibly off topics normal. Yeah, what's next would be a good one.
Not at all. Not at all.
So the actual topic of the video, people are like, they come here because they want to. Oh, there we go. Okay, so apparently there was another stream that people liked more than us. Very offended. I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness. All right. Okay, so but what we have coming up next. So this month,
Yes.
have you started it yet?
I haven't. I'm
Good.
really behind, but I am
Yeah, same.
excited because we have Duran, which I might be pronouncing wrong.
I don't know either. Like Jaren, Jaron, I'm going back and forth, and I say all the variations just in case.
I feel like I probably said Duran to Kate Elliott. I don't feel like I remember her correcting me. At the same time, she's really nice and could have just not corrected me. So that is entirely possible as well. But Duran, I think, is just how I've always
I will just do that then as
said it.
well. Yep.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
I
very
am
excited about
so
that one.
excited. And this
Also,
is
no
one.
clue what it's about, so no one tell me anything.
Oh, okay. I was
actually
about to
forgot.
introduce it. I won't do that.
Yeah, no, I actually read it up because back then when you started to get me all interested in Kate Elliott, I started looking through all her backlist stuff and I was like, okay, which one am I most interested in? And there is there was an archaeology one, and I don't know if that's the one about archaeology. And then there is a sci-fi one, which is I think the one that you have sitting there right behind you next to your crown of stars, like on the very, for me it's on the right side, for you it's probably on the left side, the white ones.
Oh, these?
Yeah.
That is apparently her most epic of epic fantasy. I
Ooh.
haven't actually read those yet. She does have some, because Duran is sci-fi, but I think it's kind of some of it's sci fantasy. And then she's got this one
I've read.
kind of sci fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's done a lot. The archaeology one, I'm not sure which one that is because she has a lot of books.
Yeah. No kidding.
But the only one I do not recommend is the YA one.
Gotcha.
But granted, I don't really like YA. The Court of Fives, I really did not like that book. I gifted it to a niece of mine, and so I wanted to read it too. And I'm like, I just did not care for it. But again, it's doing a lot of the YA
You don't
tropes,
have
the stuff you
to-
expect, and
Yeah. And you don't have to love
otherwise,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
very true. I've pretty much everything I've ever read from her. I don't think I've had anything below like a 4-star read besides that one.
Yeah.
And even then, it was just not really my thing. But see, I am very excited. I ages ago read the first chapter of Duran, and I was so intrigued. But again, Kate Elliott just has so many books, and she keeps writing new ones. And so, I'm like, well, I want to read the new ones. So then it takes forever to get back to the backlist.
Yeah.
And I did reread Crown of Stars too, because I really enjoyed that one so much.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing a reread of that when the audiobooks came out. I physically read the whole thing, and then I did it on audio for a reread, and it was yeah. So I'm very excited for that. And then what do we have in?
I think it's Trudy
July?
Kennewan in July.
Oh,
then,
yes.
Right? Yeah. Age of 5.
The first Age of 5. Oh, that's a really long one. I didn't.
And isn't July a readathon month?
It is a readathon month.
It reads pretty quick though, so it's not Trudy Kennewan
Okay.
is not like a dense type of. I mean, again, it has been a little bit because that's going to be a reread for me, and I'm actually really excited about because that's my favorite of hers. I don't
excited.
remember it being super dense or slow. I mean, obviously, every fantasy has like slower moments and whatnot, but I think it's pretty straightforward, readable. I don't remember it being difficult. So you should get through that pretty quickly, even during a readathon month.
I am planning quite short stuff for readathon, so it should be good.
Yeah, one long one is fine then.
Yeah, I did there was one readathon when I was in the middle of binging Wars of Light and Shadow for the first time, and I needed to finish the last like book and a half of a Wars of Light and Shadow book going into readathon, and I still somehow managed to get all my prompts done. And don't know how, but that was nuts because those books take a while to get through, So
Yeah,
it was fun.
they are not
But
easy reads. Yep.
I just saw this. I'm ignoring the chat. It's Chadia said hi, Nico, and guest. So there you go. There was somebody who doesn't know you, Fina. So go check out Fina's channel because she is awesome. It's a lot of books that are awesome as well. And then let's see. So interview with Trudy Canavan and Tamara Pierce. See, Tamara Pierce is not on Backlist Book Club, but is another author I very much want to try. I think I have a book of hers somewhere, but basically, if you're, any female fantasy author that's, from like, 80s, 90s, whatever, I want to try at some point because that's my niche for some reason. It's just where I've landed. But yeah. So, you never know.
We started talking a little bit about a 2027 Backlist Book Club pick and started collecting some ideas. I mean, we'll see. I mean, at one point we need to start catching up with things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard.
That Tamara Pierce could go on that list because I haven't read anything from her yet either, and she's definitely also one because that's more like the classic you should kind of have read type fantasy, right? Like Tamara Pierce is a bit better known one.
Yeah. But I have found with interviews is it never hurts to ask because I've received a decline or a no response ever on 2 interview requests. One of them was Guy Gabriel K, and he doesn't really do interviews. So I did not expect to get a response from the publisher. And they did not respond to me. But they approved me for an e-arc of his book after I reached out to them. So I'm like, you know what? This was still a net win. Didn't expect that. And then the other one, I'm so happy they said no because it was James Islington, and I ended up hating his new book. So it worked out really well.
I haven't read it yet. I've read the first one, the orange, has something orange on it.
Oh, that's his older series.
Yeah, that was self-published first, and then whoever Orbit or whatever picked it up. Tor Orbit, I don't know.
That I didn't actually know that, but that makes a lot of sense. But I liked that series. It was very flawed, and it read more like something that was needed additional editing before being published, despite being published by one of the big publishers. It's really fun though, and like there were a lot of things I liked, but it was his new series. I loved The Will of the Many the first time I read it because I had very low expectations because it did not sound like one I would like, but I liked his previous trilogy. And then on reread, I'm like, I was a little bit more, I'm like, this was still pretty good, but I realized that when I come in with like the right expectations, it didn't blow me away as much as when I had low expectations. And I did not like the new book, the sequel at all, unfortunately.
Okay. But that seems to be like a trend. I've heard multiple people say the second book was not great.
I was not, I was far from the only one who ended up, I ended up DNFing it. And so I don't know, maybe I'll go back and try it again at some point, but I just was not feeling it. And
but it's a trilogy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it's 2-book syndrome, right? Like middle book syndrome, and book 3 is going to be epic again.
It could be.
Excuse me. Yeah, I would. So Trudy Canavan, I don't know if she is still doing stuff. I would love to talk with her about her stuff. But I don't think, because her last books were written like in the 2010s, is that quartet that she wrote, and then I haven't heard anything from her anymore since then.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I have to see.
We'll see.
I mean, there's I don't know. I said, yeah, I definitely I wasn't really sure on I know a lot of these authors. Like that's where with CS and I had no idea. And then until seeing that her doing other interviews. And the last one was like a couple years ago, but then Griffin was getting her. And so I'm like, yeah, nice. But definitely curious. Yeah. I've done some in the past, and I just, it's really fun chatting with authors, especially when you really enjoy the books.
And
then I didn't
then
realize how long we've been going.
and then August, because I saw a question somewhere. Where was it?
Oh yes.
Zach. That's actually August and September, because that's a 900-page book. That's the Melissa McFeel Saphrael's Hand, which is an indie published one, right? Do I remember that right?
I don't think so. I think it's just very not well known because that's the most recent one we have on the list.
Yeah.
It was from like the 2010s. But I think that's, I don't know, honestly.
I'm
It does
checking right now.
say, Indie's Book of the Year award for fantasy in 2010. So,
Because I believe that was one that you put on the list, right? That you were curious about.
yeah. Oh, it does look like it was from like
Um,
in a small indie publisher.
yeah.
I didn't realize that even. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, that's good
Readers
too.
also enjoyed. Interesting. That one's supposed to be sort of grimdarky.
Which is fine.
As
As
well.
again, as
I don't
long as
know.
you kind of know.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. People also like Peter V. Brett, and he's a bit more on the grimdarky side. Brent Weeks. I like Brent Weeks stuff. L.E. Modesitt Jr. Isn't that an author? Did you like?
Yeah, but he could not be further from grimdark. So
Okay. Well, who knows?
I doubt. Uh, I've read some of his recluse books, and they are like they're very long and sort of like quiet books, and they're interesting, and I've enjoyed them. But they're you have to kind of be in the mood for that
Okay.
because the first one is almost boring on purpose, which it makes sense as you go along. But they're interesting. I've enjoyed them. I'm actually going to try. I don't like graphic audio the times I've tried it, but I got on sale for like $4 the graphic audio for the next recluse book, and I'm like going with like the most like tame, like very quiet, nice, light series and having graphic audio. I'm just like I'm wondering what that's going to be like. So I'm very
Well,
curious. He does like to use a lot of onomatopoeia where like they'll be like whoosh or snap or like all that kind of stuff, which drives some people nuts. But also I feel like it'll be really funny to see how they do that in the graphic audio. So um, okay, let's see. I'm gonna jump through all of the chats that I missed really quick here because it's been like 20 minutes. Oh, spear cuts through water. Okay. Jaron or Jaron. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I don't think I'm
listen.
gonna be able to get myself to change it at this point though.
Yeah, I
So
don't think it
this
matters. She'll be fine. You know, we'll read it. Yay! No matter how it's
and that's
pronounced.
the Trudy
Trudy
Canavan.
Canavan.
So
Yeah, that's what I. It's pretty straightforward.
that makes sense. Emmeline series. I don't know what that is.
Is that the Tamara Pierce one?
Oh, that's probably when we were talking about Tamara Pierce. Okay. Okay. I know that's
Tamara
I'm not
Pierce.
just it makes sense. I did like Lycanius, but I don't think I would like it if I read it now for the first time. Yeah, I enjoyed it my first time, but I think my taste has changed too much for me to like it as much anymore, is my guess. So I probably will never reread it because I just want to remember it as being as good as I thought it was when I read it the first time.
Yeah.
I think this is Trudy Canavan. Is
No, she corrected it below further. She meant Tamara Pierce.
Oh,
because I saw this too and I was like,
okay.
oh.
Okay. Sorry. This is what happens when I neglect the chat for so long. So that's okay. So most of my fan book is indie and is part of a series that will likely remain incomplete. I know because she did die. She had cancer, I think, and passed away. I think her daughter was going to be finishing it potentially or something like that. I remember hearing. From what I've heard, though, it's one of those things that's still very much worth reading. So
We'll give
definitely
it
will
a
have to
try.
see. Yeah. So,
You know, we are not shy of DNFing books here. So worst case, there's always that option. So yeah, but that's a 2-month one because it's so long. And it gives us a little bit of a break to catch up on things too, which I need. Like that is definitely one of the things where I'm realizing now this is a lot of stuff. That's a lot of books and it's a lot of long, dense books.
Yeah. That'll be a good break point here too.
Yeah.
So excited to try. But anyway, yeah, we've gone on quite long as we usually do here. So can probably wrap it up and go from here. But yeah, no, this has been fun kind of chatting through. Thanks to everybody in the chat here as well too, and hopefully we'll have some of you along here as we continue Backlist Book Club. It's been my favorite collaboration type thing I've ever done. It's just been so many books that I've wanted to get to, and now I have a specific like reason, like I've got to read them and I've had a fun time with the ups and the downs too. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, and go check out
It's a
Fina's
great group.
channel.
And go check out Niko's channel.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you had to have at least seen because this is on here, but it's Fina also is the one who makes all of the graphics and all of the cool stuff here too. So if you've seen any of our fun graphics, that's all Fina, 100% too. I just share her posts when she posts them because that's when I remember that I've forgotten to post about the next books typically as well too. So I'm trying to be better about remembering to advertise so that we get more people too.
I think listen, I like our group. I think it's a great size of people too. You can have really good conversations, really in-depth conversations in our discords. You know, if that would be 100 people, I don't think it would work as
That
well.
would get hard for sure.
Yeah, so I love everything about it so far, and I'm 100% with you. Like just the fact that we are reading some really cool books
Yes.
that no one else is talking about, that are, you know, no one really, like, you've heard maybe, but no one really knows. Like it's so much fun, and I love being able to talk with you and with in the Discord with everyone about it. It's
Yeah.
the highlight
So,
of my year so far.
Yeah. So if you're interested in joining us for any of these Backlist Book Club things and I haven't already, we chat about them in the Discord, which is linked in all of my videos. Probably not this one though, because I don't think I edited the description. But if you look at any of the other videos, you can find a link to it. And yeah, we've been having a lot of fun, and we'll definitely keep it going. But until next time, when we do another one of these in probably a couple of months or so,
October-ish, yeah.
Yeah, at some point there. We've been saving up for it, but yeah, I think that is it for this one. Thanks all for joining, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, everyone.